Okay, everybody, it's the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get this presentation going. My name is Daniel Wilson, and I'm a trainer with Vanco International. I've been with the company for about 3 years. 2 of those years I've been training. And today's presentation is going to be about our video over IP solution, our EVO-IP. And what we're hoping to get out of this presentation is for you guys to see the features and benefits that our EVO-IP system has. Great for commercial applications if you have a lot of source to a lot of displays, if you want to build a video wall, whether it be for a bar, residential. You have the ability to do digital signage. You also have the ability to schedule our EVO-IP system for reoccurring or single events as well. So a little bit about Vanco. We started out in 1957 out of Lake Bluff, Illinois, and originally a provider of mobile and CD accessories. You know, back in the day, the guys out in Lake Bluff were going door to door in a van. So that's where Vanco gets its name from, short for van company. And then about 15 years ago, really, we shifted our focus, and really our focus is on AV distribution and audio. I'd like to think of Vanco as if you have an AV problem, we have an AV solution for it. And we have an extensive product range from extenders, splitters, matrices, networking solutions, IR distribution systems, you name it. And now we are actually headquartered and we ship out of Batavia, Illinois, and that's our office picture right above. Okay. So with our products, they're tested thoroughly and they're tested twice. They're tested once overseas where they're manufactured, and then again here in the States. With our Evolution products, which EVO-IP falls under, you have a 10-year warranty on those products. And with Vanco, you also get a lifetime warranty on our cables. That's any HDMI, optical, networking cable, you name it. And all of our active electronics are 100% in the US. And pictured above here is our QC Lab. QC Lab is a great tool that we have with Vanco. And what the QC Lab does is that we're able to duplicate any situations that installers are having out on field. And we could do the best to duplicate that situation. As you see up there, we test with a lot of different sources, a lot of different displays, a few AV receivers. We even have a couple projectors up there. So the QC room is a great tool that Vanco utilizes quite a bit. Brand partners, they include JVC, Yamaha, VivoTech, TreadNet, Luxel. We also have technical support. We have an 800 number. We have an email, tech support at vanco1.com. You can also reach us on a chat on our website. So if you go to vanco1.com, go to the bottom right-hand corner, you can enter in your name and email address and start a chat with one of our tech support representatives. Okay. So now we're going to go over a little bit of HDMI over IP. What is HDMI over IP? What is needed? What is the hardware? How do you set it up? So HDMI over IP. With HDMI over IP, we're able to deliver video, audio, and control over a dedicated or integrated network. And there's a lot that we can do with HDMI over IP. We could do point-to-point like an extender. We can do switching. We can also split one signal into multiples of displays. We have any-to-any switching. So with HDMI over IP, you have full flexibility what you can do with your system. And really that gives you the flexibility and allows for growth within the system as well. So if you were doing a bar or restaurant, and they're working with 8 sources, 8 displays, but you know later on they're going to want to add more TVs, maybe a couple other direct TV boxes down the line, or maybe even sooner rather than later. With HDMI over IP, you're only limited to the amount of ports that you have on your Ethernet switch, which is part of the hardware that you'll need with your HDMI over IP. So the HDMI over IP, we're able to deliver 4K and HDR resolution. With control, we have IP local, right? So like some matrices, you can type in an IP address and access a GUI. We also have the ability to do remote access as well. So there is app control. So with the app control, you can manage remotely. So there's no need to roll a truck, go back on site, contact your customers. You'll be able to manage your EVO-IP system remotely. You're able to do a video wall capability. So depending on what HDMI system you're working with Vanco's HDMI over IP, we're able to do a 5x5 video wall configuration. So that's actually up to 87 different combinations you can do. With HDMI over IP, you have the ability to do digital signage, whether you want to have an image, a logo, or static text on your display, you have the ability to do that. And the ability to automate the system for a single event like the Super Bowl or a recurring event. So implementing HDMI over IP, why? One of the biggest reasons is expandability, right? With traditional matrix units, you really only have maybe like a 4x4, 8x8, 16x16s can get expensive as well. So with the expandability, right, we're only limited to the amount of Ethernet ports we have on the back of our switch. We could also stack Ethernet switches, which gives us additional inputs and outputs to create a larger distribution system. So really, it's the better option for larger distribution systems, right? Perfect for any commercial applications, whether it be hotel lobbies, restaurants, bars. You could also create more inputs and outputs as you go. So it's like you're creating your own matrix. So some of the pros and cons of HDMI over IP, with pros, right, always expandable. We can create more inputs and outputs. We also have flexibility in creating HDMI distribution, right, whether we want to do matrix switching or routing, whether we want to use this system as a splitter, a video wall, right, cost-effective solution for larger installations. With Vanco, we see that people start to see savings when they're working with a 10x10 configuration, right? Once you get past that 10x10, that's where you start seeing savings with a video over IP system. With some of the cons of HDMI over IP, right, there's always pros, there's going to be some cons. With cons, there is a compressed signal because we're sending video over IP. There are possible network limitations as well, and we could see an interruption or audio lag. So implementing HDMI over IP, so what is needed? So most applications, if not all applications, they're going to be needing an Ethernet switch. Now we can use a 1 gig switch for a small amount of sources. We could also use a 10 gig switch for many sources. That Ethernet switch needs to have multicast, multi-layer, jumbo frames for compression rate, IGMP snooping, that's how we're able to do matrix routing, we need that enabled. Also, PoE is optional. And with EVO-IP, our transmitters and receivers use PoE. So if you have a PoE-enabled switch, the only thing that needs powered up is your Ethernet switch, right? You don't need to use the power supply that comes with our transmitters and receivers. So jumbo frames. What are jumbo frames? Real quick, jumbo frames, all they do is reduce the amount of redundant data that is sent with each frame, right? So we have our diagram right over here to the right, where we have a standard frame, we have payload, overhead, and then we have a little gap between those two with our bandwidth and our data flow, right? So that's with standard frames. So with jumbo frames, what do we see? Better channel utilization. So with this bandwidth and this data flow, we get a payload all the way up here with just a little bit of overhead, right? So jumbo frames may not be useful in all types of networking communications. It is useful and almost essential when you're building a system for HDMI over IP. Okay, so IGMP snooping. IGMP snooping stands for Internet Group Management Protocol. So really, all this means, think of IGMP snooping as a traffic cop, right? So with this IGMP snooping enabled, it's going to send your transmitters to the receivers where they're assigned to. And with IGMP snooping, it allows network switch not only to forward multicast traffic to HDMI, but we can unicast, we can do one-to-one. We can do a broadcast, which is one-to-all, right? So we can take one signal and split it up. Or we can do multicast. And with multicast, we could send one source to several displays and leaving those other displays open for another source to be sent to. Okay. So multicast for an HDMI over IP, we have our HDMI source connected to our transmitter, right? So our multicast allows our HDMI over IP system to matrix switch. So system design, what is needed? So typically with HDMI over IP, you're going to have a transmitter for every source, a receiver for every display, control box. That's how we're able to access the user interface, do those features and benefits like the matrix switching, the video wall, the OSD. And in the middle of that, we're going to have an Ethernet switch, right? And your transmitters and receivers and control box all plug in to your Ethernet switch. So this is just a nice little 2x2 setup with our Ethernet switch in between. Okay. So implementing HDMI over IP, where for commercial, really perfect for almost any application. Right, we have the ability to do a video wall. So any bars that want a video wall right above where the bar is, they can do multiple sources to multiple displays within that video wall. They can do one giant video wall. Great for video surveillance. With our HDMI over IP, we can do 1,000 sources to 1,000 displays. We could do scheduled switching, right? So once again, we could automate this system. We could also do a little bit of digital signage. So we could have messages, logos, pictures. So really for commercial, it's perfect. So Vanco's HDMI over IP solution, our EVO-IP. So with our EVO-IP, with our features and benefits, yes, we can pass a 4K signal at 60 Hertz, 444 chroma subsampling, 18 gigabits per second, and HDR. We have a user interface, which I'll be able to show you guys how to operate that. We also have it on an app as well. So for that remote access, we can download an app. Alexa enable. So there are Alexa skills embedded with EVO-IP. So you can use your Amazon Echo Dot to control your HDMI over IP system. And our transmitters receivers utilize PoE. Right, so with our features and benefits right here, we can do scheduled switching, automate the system for a single or recurring event, video wall capability, customize on-screen messages, automated notifications. So that's for the installer. So you could set yourself up to receive emails, text messages, both anytime a transmitter or receiver goes down on site. We also have another thing that we can do with that automated notification is that if we experience a loss in video, we could set that transmitter or receiver to reboot anytime that happens. We also have third-party control drivers for Control 4, URC, and RTI. So another feature and benefit that we have with our EVO-IP system is to scale. So scaling is actually done in each receiver to avoid something called the lowest common resolution, right? So a typical matrix or splitter, even if you have 3 4K sources going to all 4K TVs, you got one 1080p source in there, your matrix or splitter is now going to pick the lowest common resolution, and now they're actually going to distribute 1080p instead of 4K. But with our EVO-IP system, we can upscale to 4K, and we could downscale as low as 720p, and we can do that at each receiver. So at every individual display, we can adjust scaling. So the recommended Ethernet switches. So on our website in our download section for EVO-IP, we do have a list of Ethernet switches. They're full models here, but some of the ones that we work with Luxel, TreadNet, Cisco, and Ubiquiti. With Vanco's HDMI over IP system, we do recommend that you pick a switch off that recommended switch list. These have been tested with our EVO-IP system. If you do pick a smart switch that is not on this list, we can help you as most as we can, but we do advise that you stick to the switch. Again, you could just type in EVO-IP on our website, go into the download section, and we have a lot of documents on there. Just pick the recommended Ethernet switches and choose one of those to work with our EVO-IP system. So the hardware, right? So for every source that we have, we'll need a transmitter with it, the EVO-IP TX1. So the transmitter uses PoE, comes with an HDMI loop out if we want to connect to a local display. For control, we have RS-232 and bidirectional IR, and we could actually de-embed audio, digital or analog on the transmitting side. Then we have a receiver, the EVO-IP RX1, right? So for every display that you have, you'll need a receiver with it. And like the transmitter, uses PoE, control RS-232 and bidirectional IR, and we can de-embed audio, digital or analog on the receiving side as well. We do have a new partner coming up with our EVO-IP system, the EVO-IP Easy. It's a new SKU where it's just a transmitter and receiver all in one. But you still get the same features, the HDMI loop out, the audio output with the toslink or stereo, RS-232 bidirectional IR. It's just a single unit. You choose whether you want it to transmit or receive. But with this part number here, the reason why we say it's a cost-effective solution is for 2 reasons. One, you only have the ability to do matrix switching in your user interface. So you won't get access to a video wall, digital signage, or schedule switching. Another stipulation is that the max resolution you'll be able to do is 1080p. So you won't be able to distribute 4K with this transmitter receiver here. You'll only be able to do up to 1080p. It can be used as the same system as EVO-IP, but just remember, only matrix switching and a 1080p max resolution. Okay. And then our last part number here, the EVO-IP CTL1, what we consider the brains of the operation. To access the user interface and that video wall, digital signage, scheduling, the matrix switching, the control box is necessary. That's why we refer to it as the brains of the operation. However, our transmitters and receivers, I would like to point one thing out, do come with a series of diff switches. So if you wanted to use this as an extender, because we could run 330 feet of CAT into our Ethernet switch from our transmitter, another 330 feet out into our receiver, we could go 660 feet. So if we were only trying to send a signal from one source to a display, the diff switch IDs, they just have to match. If you wanted to use this system just as a massive splitter, we could take one transmitter, split it up to 64 receivers. Again, the only stipulation is the diff switch IDs, they have to match. However, with our control box, it will do all the routing for you, so you can leave those diff switches at default. Okay. And a great accessory with our EVO-IP system is our universal rack shelf mount. Right. So this can hold transmitters, receivers, splitters. And the kit comes with a shelf itself and 4 mounting brackets, and you can purchase additional mounting brackets. Those are sold separately, these 2 part numbers here. Okay. So this part of the presentation, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and access my live demo here so I can show you the user interface. But first, I'm going to go ahead and show you how we access the user interface. So let me just go back a couple slides here. So our control box comes with an HDMI output right here on its side. So once you have everything configured, your transmitters, receivers, and your Ethernet switch, everything's all powered up. You take an HDMI cable, plug it into a local monitor or display, and your screen will look very similar to this one. So there's 3 ways that we can actually access the user interface. First is an IP address. So you can type that IP address into your web browser to access the user interface. You can type in this URL, so evo-ip.local. Third way that you can do it is with a QR code. So you can take your phone or tablet, scan it with the QR code scanner, and access our user interface that way. So once we do either of those 3 methods to access our user interface, okay. And here we have our EVO-IP. This is a remote demo that I'm working with here. And the first tab in the user interface that I want to show you guys is the setup tab. So with our setup tab, right up here, the system updates every 10 seconds. So any new transmitter or receiver that you put into your Ethernet switch, the system will update and add it into the queue. It'll also let you know what type it is, either receiver, RX, transmitter, TX. We also have status right here. So green means it's online. We also know how long it's been running online for. If any of these were offline, they would have a gray circle right next to it. Also would let you know how long that transmitter or receiver has been offline as well. So we could actually go into the transmitter here. Okay. So we get some identification up there at the top. Status, LAN, video stream, HDCP. Here is where we can actually name our transmitters and receivers, whatever we'd like. I'll name mine Blu-ray. We could also assign it a group ID. We could either assign it a photo. So we could assign it a photo, whether it be like a computer, AV receiver, or we could set it to preview mode. So with preview mode, it's actually going to take a snapshot every 10 to 15 seconds. It's a great tool. Just lets you know your source is on, communicating with your display, if you're doing any kind of troubleshooting. So here, I'll show you guys really quick. So I got my 2 sources going on here. So every 10 to 15 seconds, these pictures will update and change. Okay. So going back to the setup into the transmitter, a couple of things I want to show you guys as well. Okay. So in the AV settings, we actually have something here called transmitter speed. Now, early in the presentation, I did say that one of the cons of video over IP is that there could be a chance of audio lag. So with the transmitter speed here, we're able to adjust the speed of the transmitter to solve with that issue. So our video and audio will sync up. So just another feature we have with our EVO-IP. Here we have an EDID mode, RS-232 settings. We also have maintenance, factory default. We have a reboot and a blink LED. Blink LED is another cool feature. So if we're actually trying to find this specific transmitter on a rack, we could click blink LED, and now that specific transmitter will start blinking. You can also do the same by hitting these circles right here. Okay. So for the receiver, like the transmitter, you get some identification up there at the top, status as well, information, right? We can name it, assign it a group ID. Here's where we could go ahead and do our scaling, right? Up to 4K, lowest 720p. We also have the ability to rotate the display as well. So whether we wanted to do it 180 degrees or 270, right? A lot of hotels use TVs on their side for digital signage. So we have the ability to rotate specific displays. And like the transmitter, we have RS-232 settings, and we have our 3 maintenance buttons down here below. Now, one more feature that we did add not too long ago is the ability to import and export your configurations. So great for commercial applications, right? Especially if we're doing franchises. So if we already set up one location with our EVO-IP setup, we're going to our next one. I know that sometimes doing the setup can be the longest part of the job with EVO-IP besides wiring everything up. So if you were doing a franchise, you could actually export your configuration onto your laptop, bring that laptop over to your next site, and then import that same configuration, and then everything will carry over from your names, any video wall configuration that you did, and schedule configurations, you name it. Also a great tool, just in case something were to happen, whether it be a power outage or a lightning storm affects your control box, to export your configuration. So you have it. So if something does happen with your control box, you can call Vanco Tech Support. We can issue you a service tag number. You can get it replaced with a new control box and then import those old configurations back. So the next tab is the Matrix tab. So with the Matrix tab, this is where our sources and displays can be seen. Right? So all we need to do to send a source to a display is just a drag and drop feature. I want my Roku TV. And you could actually highlight over the source to see what displays it's assigned to, vice versa. So let's say I wanted to send one source to all my displays, like a football game, big sporting event happening. I could drag the one source into all my displays. Now all my displays will be sharing that one source. I can mute my TV or my transmitter at will. And another feature that we have here is presets for matrix routing. So we can set up presets up to 10 for your customers in the Matrix tab. And that's pretty much it for the Matrix tab. Not too much in there. Drag and drop feature with the ability to preset. We wanted to make this simple because chances are with your customer, they're going to be using the Matrix tab the most, especially if they're going to send a source to a display or if they wanted to send one source to all displays. So the next tab I'll go over, the video wall tab. So with the video wall tab, right, we can do a 5x5 configuration. So let's see here. So we could actually name our individual video wall. So let's say I wanted to name this video wall 1. Can update the layouts. Let's say I wanted to do a 3x1 by chance. I will show you that we can also do a 5x5. Right, and as long as we don't exceed 25 displays, we could do a number of combinations as well. So we can get kind of creative with layout. Right now, keep it 3x1. Okay, so now that we have our layout set up, start building our video wall. We have our sources and our displays, right? And since we already named them in the setup tab, building the video wall just got a lot simpler. So let's say I wanted to do one source across all 3 displays. Okay, so I'll take my Blu-ray and I'll drag it in each box. And then I assign it a display. So I just drag a display in there. And now my display labeled left matches the color of my source Blu-ray, right? So they're both blue. I know they're assigned to each other. Right? Drop on the Sony, drop on the bar. And now I've built my nice little 3x1. If I wanted to do a 2x1 with another display, or I'm sorry, another source in the display right here, I can absolutely do that. the 2x2. One thing I do want to show you guys really quick. So when I'm building this 2x2, one thing that we can go ahead and do, that we also have the ability to rotate the displays within the video wall tab as well. So if you wanted to use the video wall on its side or upside down, you have the ability to do that here. We also have the ability to do bezel adjustments on the X and Y axis for any TVs with thin bezels on the side or on the bottom. We give you a test function as well. Anything that you don't like in your video wall, you can hit this trash can, dump it, and start all over again. Once you finish building your video wall, throw these in here. You can save, go back to video wall, and we can go ahead and turn it on. And then there will be a green light right next to this one, letting you know a video wall has been activated. Now we have actually the ability to do 8 presets with our video wall tab. So that gives you a couple options. Either you can have 8 specific presets for one video wall configuration, or you can have multiple video wall configurations. They could all share the same source. However, the only stipulation is you'll need different receivers with every new video wall that you want to implement. Okay, but you have the ability to have 8 with our EVO-IP system. Okay, so the OSD feature. So with the OSD feature, great for digital signage because we could send not only logos or images, but we could also send messages as well. So we go to the upload, delete, custom OSD image. So we could click on here to drop a file or click to upload, so long as it fits this criteria, 1 megabyte by a width of 1920, height of 1080. And we have 16 images that we could upload with our OSD feature. Right, so if your specific location, whether it be a restaurant or a bar, they want their logo to the corner, take this. Okay. So now my Vanco logo is going to be on my bar TV. We can also do a number of things with that. So we could also update the resolution with this image. All this will do is just change the size. We could also change the transparency of it as well. Okay. You have the option to do an image as a single image or an album. So with an album, we could select multiple images and play them either in order or in random with a minimum of 3 seconds in between. So if we wanted to do a slideshow of specials, we can absolutely do that. Message, right? So we could change the resolution, transparency of it as well. Position on the X and Y axis. This is where you would enter in your message text. You can update the size and the color as well. And all you have to do is just drag it and drop either your logo or your message on the TV. And there it will be displayed. So right for last call, let's say this was a bar, it was 1:30 a.m., everybody was trying to close up shop. You want to let everybody know it was last call. Well, we could also drop this message and have it project on all of our TVs. Okay. We could also do the same with the logo as well. We could also mute the image or the static text at will as well by clicking the top right-hand button here. So the scheduling tab. With the scheduling tab, we can automate this system for a single or reoccurring event, right? And there's no limit to how many schedule configurations you have with your EVO-IP system, right? So to start building a schedule configuration, all you have to do is hit this plus, okay? This window will pop up. We could choose our type, either our transmitter or our receiver. We could choose the name of the device. So let's say we wanted to mess with my Sony. The duration, so you'll click this, it'll populate a calendar, right? So let's say that we only wanted this event happening one day. We can choose this to just be a one-day schedule. Let's say we wanted this running all the way to the end of the month. There we go. So now it's going from today all the way to the end of April. We hit apply. We can choose the date when the schedule configuration will happen. So let's say I wanted this happening every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, right? I want to make sure that Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday are bolded. Everything else is unselected. And then we could choose the time when the schedule configuration starts. It's in military time. So let's say I want this happening at 3 p.m. Central Time. Okay, and then we get some actions down here below. So the first action here is mute. Great closing time feature, right? So we can schedule our receivers to mute the feed to the display at a certain time at a certain date. We also have resume, where we can go ahead and resume the feed from the receiver back into the display. And then we can use our third-party control or our bidirectional IR to go ahead and turn on our TVs. We could also do remapping. So we could switch at a certain source on a certain time at a certain date. We also have the ability to schedule reboots as well. So with that remote access, right, we can schedule reboots for every individual transmitter and receiver. And then we have a feature called Cycle Plan, great digital signage feature, where we could cycle through multiple sources between 10 and 60 seconds, like you wanted to do a slideshow. So if you want to do a slideshow on your specials at a certain time, at a certain date, Circle Playtime is a great feature for that. Okay, so once you figured out your schedule configuration, all you have to do is hit Add. Now you hit Apply, and now your schedule configuration is saved. Okay, so the Event tab is for the installer. So this Event tab is where we could go ahead and set ourselves up to receive either emails, text messages, or both anytime a transmitter or receiver goes down on site. So you can click in here to enter in your email, phone number. Okay. You could schedule one person or multiple people. And this is that other feature that I was talking about, where we have the ability to reboot anytime the event has a loss of video. So this transmitter here, Blu-ray, if it experiences any video loss, the first thing it'll do is reboot itself. So with that remote access for the installers, you get a message or an email. Well, all you have to do is go back to setup and make sure that your transmitter or receiver that was scheduled for that reboot has a green status light right next to it. You know that reboot was successful. So great ability to go ahead and do some RMR with this EVO-IP and be proactive. And with the Access tab, this is great for any security, video surveillance, because we can limit what sources can be allowed to a display. So right, so my display here, unlimited sources. But let's say I only wanted my Blu-ray going to my left TV. I just hit check mark, hit apply. Now this display is only allowed to get the source. This is also great because it has an account name and password that you can use as well. And the last tab is the Log tab. And with the Log tab, it acts as Big Brother. So it monitors your whole system with any events, schedules, actions, log in, log outs. We have the ability to download a PDF of our history as well if your customer wanted a monthly, bi-monthly report. And this will actually log everything with your EVO-IP system up for a full calendar year. Okay. And then one more tab I want to show you is the Smart Controller. So the Smart Controller, a couple things I want to show you here. So by default, this system comes as DHCP, but we have the ability to go ahead and change the IP address to a static IP address. This is also where you'll be doing any firmware updates on your control box. This is also a place where you'll go ahead and get cloud access as well. So with our maintenance here, you can choose to upgrade our system. You could also choose the time and pull the time off. Okay. Okay. So what everybody just saw was what the installer's end user account is going to go ahead and look like. The end user, as you can see, is very different. So we've limited them to only have access to 4 tabs: the matrix, the video wall tab, the OSD, and the schedule. Only because things like setup, access, event, and log, those are really only for the installer. With the EVO-IP system, the installer themselves can create an installer ID account, and you could also distribute end user accounts, up to 20 of them, within the control box as well. Okay, and there's just a few installations that we've done with EVO-IP in the past. We did a boardroom out of Petco Park in San Diego. We did a sports bar out in Chicago. And then we did a video wall at the Downtown Club in Houston. Now, I like this picture a lot because it's a nice 3x3 video wall with the 2x2 configuration here. And then the rest of these displays have their own source assigned to them. Okay. Okay. And that is the end of the presentation. I appreciate everybody's time today. Here's my contact information along with Frank Santos. Randy Blanchard is on here too. He's our director of audio. So we do have a little bit of time. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question about the video wall, please.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I have a question about the video wall, please. Can the video wall do like artistic displays? Like they have a mix and match version of landscape and portrait and same video wall?
I'm sorry, sir, you're kind of cutting out there. I hate to ask you this, but would you mind typing your question in the chat, if you don't mind, just because you're only breaking in and out? I apologize.
Daniel, can you have a video wall be an event?
So with the event, oh, so like a schedule?
Yeah, for a scheduled event for the full video wall.
No, unfortunately, that's not part of the event scheduling configuration. However, you could always just have a preset ready, and you could just have to activate the video wall to turn it on, but there's no event for it, unfortunately.
So if you have 4 transmitters on a video wall, that you can't have them all do it, so you just... All right.
Hi, this is Ralph. Ralph Sr. I have a question. Once the product is installed, and the way we installed it recently is that there's 2 transmitters. I'm sorry, 1 transmitter going into a splitter, and then the splitter goes to 2 receivers. If we want to control this remotely, then we obviously have to add the static IP. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for the question. We had one of the units go bad on us, and we called in for support. We lost the signal. There was no power to it. The green light would not come on. I mean, if I had known we could have done some of this, you know, doing the reboot, we could have done some of this remotely. We did everything we could from a distance, but then we just did an RMA. We replaced the equipment. And it worked fine. The strange thing was the same thing happened, and then it recovered itself all by itself.
Interesting. Would you mind emailing me that inquiry? I kind of want to dig a little bit deeper into that, if you don't mind.
Sure, I'll try to find a date, because you guys keep a track of the troubleshooting when a client calls in for the installation. Do you keep track of that on your end? Especially
Yes,
in RMA? Okay, so I'll try to reference that in the email, and then you can follow up with hopefully what your technician, what they noted on that.
Sure, sounds good. I can absolutely do that for you. Okay, so does the brains of the operation use RS-232 or take telnet commands for use with third-party control? From my understanding, the third-party control, like the URC Control 4, talks to our control box. So I do not believe it uses RS-232. Let's see here. Install using one of the smaller receiver transmitter kits. And I have a question regarding the IR pass-through. Let's see. Can I pass signal from one kit to another? So Ralph Jr., are you referring to using our IR system in conjunction with another IR kit?
Yes. Yeah, because the way the setup was it was going to a projector from that was connected to a sound booth. So the idea was, you know, wanted to give the client the ability to just turn the projectors on and off from the remote, you know, from one location, instead of having to go all the way up to the projectors and point the remote at them. So the way we have it set up is there's a laptop or a computer in the sound booth. You know, there's a transmitter there. Then there's a receiver, you know, that's right by the projector. Now, the thing is, the infrared pass-through works for that one projector. Then from that projector, we have a splitter, and then another transmitter and a receiver going to a secondary projector. Now, the thing is, though, the infrared signal only goes up to the first projector, and then I double-check, triple-check the instructions and make sure I had, you know, the receiver, the RX and TX for the infrared plugged into the right ports and positioned right. And it's like no matter, and I double check and triple checked everything, but the signal would not pass through to the second projector.
Interesting. And you're just using our IR kit with our system, right?
Yeah, the ones that came with it.
Okay. Let's see here. Now, are you using something kind of like called like pitch and catch, where you take an IR receiver that comes out of an emitter, and by that emitter, there's another IR receiver connected to that, so your IR signal can flow through all the way to the end?
Yeah, that's how I set it up, and I made sure, like, that they were like pointing at each other. So I mean, there doesn't seem to be a reason for the signal not to go through. But now here's the weird thing: I took the remote and I pointed it directly at the receiver where it would pass the signal into the second projector, and for some reason the infrared signal would not go through.
You know what? How about this? Would you be able to email me or give me a call? My contact information is right up there. I'd love to talk to you about this a little bit later. This might be something that my tech team might have to get involved with as well.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Excellent. Okay. And then Christian Kidwell, can a video wall have rotated in landscape images? Yeah. So you'll be able to rotate the display itself with our rotating. So you'll actually be rotating the display, and you can position the TV however you like. But yes, it can be used as rotated landscape images.
So basically, we're trying to do an artistic video wall that's just got panels all over the place.
I'm sorry?
So we have an artistic video wall which has a bunch of different panels in it. So that's cool. You can mix and match inside of one image.
Oh, within one image. So you're talking about tiling, having multiple images in one display?
Like a 2x3, and some of the tiles are landscape, some are portrait.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, like with our video wall, we don't have the ability to do any tiling, but yeah, you could do like a 2x3 and have maybe the top be a landscape, the other bottom three be their own individual source. Yeah, that's fine.
No, I think we missed it. It's not. It's like a 2x3, but like maybe 3 of them are portrait and 1 of them is landscape, or 5 of them are. It's artistic video wall. Like Black Box has them, so like you can make a video wall, but all your TVs aren't. It's not a 2x2 or a 3x3. It's all jumbled up all over the place.
Okay, so tell you what, Christian, can you go ahead and email me as well? That's something I want to talk to you one-on-one about, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. All right, well, if nobody has any more questions, thank you very much for taking the time today in our presentation with the EVO. Oh, yes?
Just real quick, is this being recorded that we can refer to later on? Because I like to go over all the capabilities on the road.
Yeah, I'm recording this right now, so I'll be able to send you a file. Absolutely.
Okay, so you send it to everyone who registered then?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, if nobody has any more questions, thank you very much once again for participating in the EVO-IP presentation. Please feel free to contact me, phone or email, with any other questions that you may have, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.